Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Greetings, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good night. Welcome from wherever you're calling from. My name's Anthony. I work for Catalyst 2030. I'm really excited to have Buddy and Devin here give you a presentation this evening. I just have a short set of slides that I'm going to share and a video first. So please bear with me while I share my screen. There we go. And we'll wait for a few minutes just while some more people join the room. So this is purpose-driven partnership, lifting entrepreneurs to change the world. And as I mentioned, we have Buddy and Devin here speaking, Street Business School and Souls for Souls. Really happy to have you here. Thank you so much. A few housekeeping notes. Please, we would love to see your faces. Please keep your video on and enjoy. That's the main thing. And this is the other piece that I have to show you. And I'm sure that many of you who have been part of this conference will have seen this before, but I hope you enjoy anyway.
Catalyst 2030 started life as a WhatsApp group among social entrepreneurs connecting to envision real transformational change. Launched at the World Economic Forum in January 2020, it's grown into a global movement accelerating change to ensure the SDGs are reached by 2030. Fueled by passion, our 550 members working in 175 countries have collectively put in an amazing 50,000 volunteer hours, touching the lives of 2 billion people. And we're driven by values, to which we hold ourselves accountable. 2020 was a busy year, co-creating 3 reports with partners and producing one of our own. Inviting high-level guests to participate in the Catalyzing Change campaign, hosting fireside chats and expert hours, which will be continuing in 2021. To celebrate our achievements, together we placed our supporters in the limelight with the first Catalyst 2030 Awards for Systemic Change. With the blessing of the Dalai Lama, we celebrated finalists and winners in the following categories: special recognition for our early supporters, individual philanthropists, donor organizations, philanthropic intermediaries, corporate organizations, bi- and multilateral organizations, and 4 regional winners in the category of national governments. And now on to Catalyzing Change Week 2021. During this social entrepreneur-led event, we bring together diverse stakeholders in over 100 sessions to showcase their systems change efforts and the best practices that can accelerate our work in pursuit of the SDGs.
Well, thanks everyone. And Devin, over to you.
Thank you. Welcome everyone. It's really wonderful to see you. We are going to kick off in a couple minutes. We're just going to give a couple more minutes for people to trickle in. And because one of our goals is really to get to know each other and have a chance to connect, we'd love for you to introduce yourself in the chat. Maybe you could share your name, your organization, where you are in the world, and something you're grateful for today. So if people want to share in the chat, we will just give a couple more minutes for people to trickle in while we meet each other. I think we had about 12 countries represented in the RSVP list, or 15. It's cool to see such a global audience.
Yeah.
Athens, Nashville, Netherlands.
I just would like to say Nashville is known as the Athens of the South of the US. So it's basically the same thing. Very similar. We have a 1/10 version of the Parthenon not far away from here. So
France, lovely, on the beach. I'm based in Colorado, where we are still getting snow in the mountains. So Little Beach sounds wonderful. Okay, maybe 1 or 2 more minutes. Everyone feel free to post your introduction, and then we will kick this off. So Mamish, all right. I lived in Seattle for many years. Western New York, wonderful. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. I am really excited about this session and excited to be hosting with my colleague, Buddy Teaster, who we have been in partnership together for quite some time now. So let's just kick off by talking a little bit about why we're hosting this session. Buddy, you want to jump in?
Sure. So I think the most important reason that we are here is both Street Business School and Souls for Souls has a huge belief in training entrepreneurs as a way to help people find a path out of poverty. So we share some core DNA, even though we take very different approaches to get there. And I think each of us too, as leaders of our organizations, have really helped to drive an entrepreneurial mindset inside our organization. So how we work, how we look for partners, and how we think about our outcomes are super important for that.
Yeah, both of our organizations, Souls for Souls and Street Business School, are also working to address the SDGs and specifically looking at ending poverty. And we really have invested in collaborative models, as you'll see from our stories. So we thought that this was a wonderful Catalyst 2030 is so aligned with those principles, and we wanted to pull out some of the core pieces that we found in creating purposeful partnerships.
And we really hope that we can talk about it in a very concrete way. I know, partnerships and purpose-driven can sound a little fuzzy, perhaps. Both of our models, Street Business School and Souls for Souls, are based deeply in partnership. So this is core to who we are and how we get things done and how we interact and work with people and understand. And so hopefully there'll be some tools and conversations here that'll be really helpful for you as you try to create more robust partnerships.
And finally, we really want to get to know each other. We don't want to spend the whole time talking. This is going to be very interactive. This is going to be a chance for you all to get to know each other and share. And we want to make it pretty practical. So at the end of this session, we are actually going to give an opportunity to call out what each person might have to offer in terms of partnership and what you might be looking for. So I just want to plant that seed that you can start thinking about if your organization is in a position to partner or looking for partners. We're going to get to that at the end of the session. So let's get started. I am going to introduce my colleague here, Buddy Teaster. He is an incredible runner of things. He's the CEO of Souls for Souls since 2012. Souls for Souls, some of you have probably experienced or volunteered with or donated shoes to. They're the largest nonprofit shoe and apparel social enterprise in the country, United States. But he's also literally a runner. He completed his first marathon in 1994 and is one of those crazy, insane people that I can never understand, who does ultra marathons and trail runs. And he's doing a fundraiser right now for his organization. How many miles are you going to run, Buddy?
250 miles this month for a project we're doing here in the US.
250 miles. So it's no real surprise that the vehicle he uses to fight poverty involves running shoes. But seriously, Buddy has incredible background. He was the president and COO of the Executive Business Service and was also the chief network officer for YPO. He's an incredible communicator. He's written a book called Shoestrings that I highly recommend. He's got TED Talks out there. So please check out Buddy and his online presence. And Buddy, I'd love for you to just give a quick introduction to Souls for Souls as an organization.
Sure. So the one line for us is we believe that we can help create opportunity through the distribution of shoes and clothes around the world. We do that by creating opportunity for people to earn a living, for people to go to school and to work safely, opportunity to serve, and opportunity to help protect the planet. Now I get to introduce you, which is a fun thing to do. So, Devin's list, I love the chance to introduce her because she is an entrepreneur herself. This is the second organization she started. Street Business School was preceded by a pretty amazing organization. Maybe you have beads on from Bead for Life, Devin, I can't tell for sure, but I thought you might. Started a pretty amazing organization in Uganda that went on to serve lots of women and lots of happy customers in the US and around the world, that gave women initially a way to deal with the crisis of AIDS as a way to earn a living and to be with each other, that lifted a lot of women out of poverty, and then morphed into Street Business School, which I should talk a little bit about in a second, but is a really powerful way to create a curriculum. So not just, hey, here's go try harder or find an idea, but here is a methodology for becoming a successful entrepreneur. I hope she'll share some of the statistics because they're super impressive. She is a prolific speaker and writer. She shows up in lots of places, from Oprah and Vanity Fair to Nick Kristof's column in the New York Times. Lots of TED Talks. She's a terrific speaker. She's got the academic credentials to back it up as well, with a master's in public administration from the University of Washington. And as I like to tell everybody that I know, she is a sea slug from the University of California, Santa Cruz. So got to be the best mascot in America for sure. And a friend and a great person. So Devin, it's a real honor to do this with you again. And maybe you could talk a little bit about the mission now of Street Business School and then kick us off.
Thank you, Buddy. Street Business School is an organization that is really focused on helping people living in extreme poverty start small businesses to change their life. As Buddy mentioned, we've been working in Uganda for almost 2 decades now, and honing a program that's really based on the feedback of women that we serve and iterating it over time. And we know that through this program, women lift their families from $1.35 when they enter the program to almost $4.20 2 years after they've graduated. So a pretty robust change in a woman's life and the life of her children and family. And when we looked to expand this, when we thought about scaling, we realized that rather than replicating ourselves around the world and opening new offices and getting new vehicles, whatever, we thought that there was a more effective and efficient way to go about that, because we really believe that there are local experts around the world who are best positioned to serve the people in their community. And so we have created a social franchise model where we find incredible leaders in their community who are doing amazing work, and we partner with them to bring our model to round out their program portfolio and amplify the work that they do. And this is really across many sectors. We have partners now in 22 countries, over 100 organizations, and collectively they are working to address 16 of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So really this is like one more tool in people's toolkits to help them achieve their mission. And I'm so grateful that one of our partners is Souls for Souls. Souls for Souls has a global footprint. And so we have partnered with them to work with their local partners, their local entrepreneurs in countries around the world to amplify their impact. So that's how our partnership has taken flight, and we continue to work closely together. So we are pulling some of the lessons that we have found in working together and in our own organizations working with multiple partners to inform this conversation around purpose-driven partnership. And all of you have your own experiences. And so we really want to weave in the collective knowledge of this group to draw lessons around how do you truly create partnership? because partnership is not always easy. If you think about the word collaboration, which is really what a partnership is, the root of that is laboring together, collaborate, laboring together. And I think it's a really powerful thing because labor is hard, right? And laboring with someone else is hard. And so we talk a lot about partnerships, but they're hard to put together and they're hard to sustain sometimes. So we want to just talk about some of the things that we've really learned that create powerful partnerships. And the first idea that we want to talk about is the power of dignity. At its essence, a partnership is a relationship between people, right? Whether it's huge organizations that are partnered or individuals, at the end of the day, it's all people within those organizations and how we partner. And what we found is that dignity as a core principle of how we show up together and how we work together is fundamental to creating powerful partnerships and partnerships that can sustain challenge. So I want to tell one example of how dignity has played out in our work with Street Business School. This is a woman named Ruth. Ruth lives in Uganda, and before we met Ruth, she was living with this little guy, her son Bashir, and really struggling every day to survive. The father had left, and so every day she would walk through her community and she would ask her neighbors if she might do their laundry. And on days that she succeeded and found work, she and Bashir would have one meal. And she told me when she couldn't find anyone who needed their laundry done, that she'd have to listen to her baby cry himself to sleep. And she told me that she just had no hope for her future. She had no idea how she was going to raise Bashir. Ruth came into Street Business School and she went through our program and she decided she would start a vegetable stall. This is a very early iteration. You can see she's got some green bananas, she's got some pineapples. What she did is she started this small stall, and then she realized that instead of buying her vegetables locally, she could travel an hour. She'd get somebody to come watch Bashir. She'd travel an hour away to the rural area. She'd buy vegetables, and that way she could increase her income. Not only that, she could also sell to other people with vegetable stands and have another little income stream. And Ruth went from $22 a month to $177 a month. So you can imagine how her life changed. But when I talked to Ruth and I asked her, what was the most important thing she learned? She said, obutenyoma. Obutenyoma. That literally translates, that's a Luganda word. It translates as not underestimating myself. For her, the transformation was around seeing her own dignity. It was around claiming her dignity. It was around finding herself. And so we have really embedded this idea of dignity and seeing each other's dignity, recognizing and amplifying each other's dignity as a core to our work. I mentioned to you that we have over 100 partners around the world. And oftentimes people say, what is it that you look for to find the right kind of partner? They're working in so many different sectors. They're working in so many different geographies. And what we look for is the philosophy of amplifying human dignity. That is what we have in common with our partners. If they come in and they talk about their work as truly partnering with people side by side, rather than like, oh, here's a poor beneficiary, I'm here to save them, right? We are looking for that alignment and right relationship. So I want us to pause for a minute and to think about the power of dignity. And I'm going to ask each one of you to think about this question, and then we are going to break out into small groups to talk about it and to allow you to meet each other. I want you to think about a time that someone recognized a fire in you, a drive, a purpose, your dignity that maybe you had not even seen at that time. A moment in your life when someone saw something in you that you might not have seen before. And I want you to think about, in that moment, how did you feel? What was your experience when somebody saw something in you? And you felt that power, that maybe you had the power to do something that you hadn't anticipated. I've had the incredible privilege of asking this question to hundreds of people. And the responses that I've heard have blown me away. Almost everybody I've talked to can think about one moment or sometimes a dozen moments when there was somebody that believed in them. So Buddy, let me ask you this question. Do you have a memory of a time that somebody believed in you that was formative in your journey?
You know, your story actually changed my mind about how I answered that question. So I've been the CEO at Souls for Souls since October of 2012. And, you know, obviously, when they were looking for a new CEO, I had my hand up. So there was some belief that I could do this. But as I came in and understood how broken Souls for Souls was at that moment, in sort of every way, financially, morale, our board. And they said two things when they called me to offer me the job here. They said, before I'm about to tell you this, I want you to know that two board members, as soon as they voted, resigned. We want you to take this job, buddy. We want to offer you the CEO job because we believe in you. But you got to know that two people here said you'll never pull it off. And so I think it was that combination of, like, I was entrusted with something that these guys had spent a lot of time building and growing and had gotten into trouble. With the little bit of you're not able to do this was a really powerful motivator for me. And I think back to that moment, you know, now almost 9 years later, when we're much healthier in every dimension. And that was a key moment to realize, like, they're putting a lot in my hands. And I took that really seriously. And so I think that's one of the reasons I love what I do so much now, is that it came from that place of, like, we're trusting you to take this to the next level.
Okay, so I think we're going to go into breakout sessions now. We're going to be in groups of 3. You're going to have about 10 minutes to share a time that somebody saw your dignity, the time that somebody believed in you, maybe when you didn't even believe in yourself. All right, and
Yes.
welcome back, everyone. All right, I think we have everyone back. I hope you had an amazing time meeting some of your colleagues. I think we have a really interesting group here. And we're able to dive into this idea of dignity and confidence and belief at a personal level that we can then bring into our creation of purpose-driven partnerships. So thinking about this principle of how do you show up with dignity? How do you show up with dignity as an organization? How do you show up with dignity as an individual? And how do you see the dignity in other people as you create partnerships?
So not to totally flip it around, but we need to talk about the other side of partnership as well. As important as it is to recognize and lean into the dignity of everybody involved in relationship, there's no question that unless we understand the power dynamics, we will make mistakes. And even when we do understand it, we'll probably make mistakes. And so I think this is an uncomfortable topic to talk about, no matter where you are in the ecosystem on this, but I think it's really important. And I thought I would start just by sharing a personal story with this guy here, who his name is Sam Darguen. He is the leader of the Haitian American Caucus. He's a Haitian American, but has been in Haiti for the last 10 years full time. After the earthquake, almost 11 now, after the earthquake, he moved there. And Sam's organization runs a school. It has about 600 kids. They do English as a second language. They do a microcredit program. And our partnership is around the shoes, as you see these sitting on. We sell the shoes to Sam at HAC. He resells them to local entrepreneurs. And the local entrepreneurs take them out into mostly open air markets where they sell them. And it's a tough culture, lots of negotiation between Sam and the entrepreneurs, almost all of whom are women. And similar to Devin was talking about, these are mostly women mostly women who are living on $1, $2 a day, right? So it's a tough day-to-day kind of existence. And what we find is that shoes are an incredible vehicle to actually earn some real income because it's differentiated in the market. They have product that other folks don't have at a price that they often can't get because they're small entrepreneurs. Haiti's battered by natural disasters, by tough politics. They've got their own environmental issues to deal with. And so in spite of all that, our partnership has grown tremendously over the last 8 years now. And COVID, as I'm sure many of you can attest in your own experiences, really tested that. So the markets were shut down for the most part. The economy was falling apart. The currency was devalued by half compared to the US dollar over the last 18 months or so. And the political situation in Haiti is really dicey, right? President stayed too long and that sort of stuff. So there are all these complicated dynamics. And a part of the Souls for Souls HAC dynamic is we have a business relationship. We have this very clear mission part that we're doing of getting these shoes to these women. Sam is earning money. He has a margin as well when he sells to fund his schools and his other programming. And so we've got a mission piece and we've got a business piece. And so over the last year, we've shipped a lot of product to Sam and he's been very slow to pay, which we have our own thing to run. We have people to pay. We have our team. We have our board asking about how we're running the organization. And so over the last 9 months now, this situation has gotten very tense. And it occurred to me just a few months ago how tense that had gotten when we said, look, Sam, we're not going to keep sending you stuff if you can't pay. He would explain the situation. And it just became clear to me that we had economic power. Souls for Souls had economic power. We had product power in this case. And yet our day never included things like, can I get to the bank without being shot? Am I going to be able to get the kids home from school because of protests? And it was one of those moments where doing the quote right thing for us of running our business effectively got in the way of the relationship piece, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, but the dignity piece as well. To have somebody like Sam, who is working his ass off to deliver every day for his community, he's got to deal with a bunch of knuckleheads who sit in places where the power comes on and you can drink the water and all these things that we take for granted here in Nashville, Tennessee. And we didn't recognize dignity, that the cost to him to explain why he couldn't pay at that moment, and that we weren't really being a good partner. And so we had a blow up is too strong a word, but we had a very strong interaction where he just said, look, we have to talk. So by coming together, listening to him, hearing his vision for the future, how that's had to change because of what's happened in Haiti the last 18 months, we were able to reset and realize that we are equals. We are partners in the same effort. We are collaborators, literally working together. I love what you said, Devin, about that root of that word. Like, we are yoked together. He can't do what he wants to without us, and neither can we. And once we reset that and got back to the human level, just in the last 60 days or so, even though not much has changed on the ground, that partnership has been re-energized in a way that I wish we'd had this fight 5 years ago, right? We got so much clarity by recognizing the power dynamics and the dignity and having an honest conversation about that. So it's hard to admit, right? I think it was hard for Sam to admit what he was facing. It was hard for us to admit how easy we had it, comparatively speaking. And it was only through being honest about the time frame, the hurdles, and the reasons to find a solution that we were able to get back to the table. And so for us, that meant we had to let go of a little bit of our power. Like, we have an agreement about how much accounts payable Sam could have. Us sticking to that was not good for the relationship, right? So we let go of some of our power. We also, when Sam said, well, we should just stop for a little while, and we said, you're right. And he freaked out because he needed the product coming in. So he had to take some of his power back, right? He had to own what he was saying and what he was trying to do. So I think the way that happened is that we were able to set the tone of like, Sam, we are out of sync with you. Can we talk about this? And that recognition that even though we sort of had in some ways the kind of stronger case, it was the wrong case to make. We had to come as equals. And by giving up some power and an invitation to let's talk, like I said, re-energized a partnership that I think we were close to losing. And now I think it's stronger than ever.
Practical tools for thinking about power dynamics in architecting purpose-led relationships. One of them is to really think about the power dynamics going in and to structure the relationship with those explicitly stated. You're a larger organization than we are. You're a smaller organization than we are. With Street Business School, we have 100 partners of varying sizes. And one of the things that we very explicitly say is, you guys are the experts in your community. We've created the structure of how we want to partner in a way that we have to acknowledge where we don't know, and that they have to lead, that our partners lead, and that, you know, oftentimes we're a bigger organizational partner than they are. And so how does that affect communication? So to go in with a really clear articulation of the power imbalance that exists. I think particularly as we look at groups like Catalyst 2030 and organizations from around the world coming together to hit the Sustainable Development Goals, we have to talk about power dynamics. We have to talk about decolonizing aid. We have to talk about local leadership. Those are conversations that are long overdue, and I'm happy to see them happening, but they need to happen more. And in the small conversations that we have with each other, I think acknowledging those. Listening is a really important part of understanding power dynamics. You know, if you're not willing to get authentic feedback, or your partner's not willing to give you authentic feedback because of the power dynamic, that was going to create real barriers. And so lots of ways, you know, listening in person, using technology, giving people ways to anonymously share feedback, actively seeking out people with hard feedback to offer, and then thanking them for that critique. You know, how do we get better at this? Here's my rule of thumb. If I'm not a little uncomfortable in the conversation, then I'm not there yet, right? Because part of giving up power is around not being comfortable all the time. If you're comfortable all the time, then you probably have power that you haven't recognized. So I think that this is such an important concept to building true relationships, and particularly if we are building relationships, you know, around the world across lots of diversity, it's important to understand what the power dynamics are.
So maybe then we could talk a little bit about relationships, kind of go through this section kind of quickly so we can get back to people talking to each other. But this idea of relationships and alignment are, you know, are just fundamental. And they're based on trust, right? That's an easy thing to say. It's a hard thing to build. It takes a long time. It can be lost like that. But I think there are two levels to think about this. There's an organizational level of trust where the things that you just talked about are clear and open. But then there is the personal level of trust where, like, I know the four guys in this picture, we are partners similar to what's happening in Haiti. This is the World Compass Foundation in Honduras. And so that organizational level of what do they stand for? Who are they? How do we work together? What are the financial and operational details that really matter? But also, do I understand who these guys are? And can I trust their word and they trust mine? And I think one of the things that gets lost a lot in that sort of relationship alignment thing is the phrase maybe some of you have heard, heropreneur, like that somehow any entrepreneur, including social entrepreneurs, are out there doing it by him or herself. And they're this sort of heroic, against the all odds sort of thing. And that's just not been my experience. Like, everything that matters gets done through partnership and trust and working with other folks. And so recognizing that organizations are made up of people that we need to trust and understand, and that we have to be super clear that relationship is based on alignment of goals. And so I think, Devin, maybe you could talk a little bit about how much we love the idea of that solo heroic thing and how much it just doesn't really work.
Pull us all out a little bit. Those of us who are on this call who work in the social entrepreneurship space, because I think there's a lot of talk about partnership, but I think that authentic partnerships are rare. Unfortunately, in some ways, Catalyst 2030 is kind of the exception to the rule. And I don't think that that's surprising when you think about how the incentives in the world of social entrepreneurship reward people, right? So let's just do a quick experiment. If anyone in the last 7 days have heard any of these words, raise your hand. Raise your hand if anybody's heard these words, right? These words are all over our sector, and they all have to do with working alone in some cases, being the first, to, not collaborating. And so we have this mythology of the single entrepreneur that I think we need to break down, and that creating the strong partnerships will be served as we're able to move past this idea of one sexy cool entrepreneur in the social entrepreneurship space and focus more on collaboration. Those of you who are not part of Catalyst 2030, I really encourage you to get involved, because I have been pleasantly surprised and amazed at how open and collaborative this environment is. And I think we need more of that.
So just to build on what Devin said, I mean, this whole reason we're here is to talk about these kind of ways to collaborate and build trust with each other, and come up with some tools and concrete ways to talk about partnership. I think this idea, at least for Souls for Souls, has been tested more in the past year than any of my experience here, because partnerships are easy when things are easy, and you really find out if you have a partnership when the chips are down. Does it turn into everybody, each person for himself or herself, or do we really find ways to collaborate? And I think I have to say, I'm a little embarrassed now. I'm not a member of Catalyst 2030 yet. Devin opened my eyes to why I need to change that. But I think that's one of the things that we've learned this year, is that we need to get better at this collaboration stuff. We do it okay in our own little world. And I think that's been a great model for us, is our partnership with Street Business School, because we recognized a big shortcoming, that we didn't have a curriculum to help entrepreneurs. We were getting them product, we were being a good supplier, but we weren't really helping expand the entrepreneurial opportunity in those communities, or even make those individuals selling shoes better business people. So maybe, Devin, you can talk a little bit about, from your perspective, of what that partnership has looked like.
We charge people to get trained in our program. And so in essence, Souls for Souls is our customer and we are their vendor, but we've never thought about our relationship in that way. We've always thought about our success is your success. And so, really flipping that idea. Yes, it is a customer relationship in some ways, but actually we've worked to make it much deeper than that based on some of these principles. So we are going to break out into groups one more time. And the prompt this time is to think about a relationship you have with some organization or vendor even, and how could it evolve into more of a partnership that would benefit you or your company? And also, how would it benefit your partner, right? Relationships got to be win-win. So we're going to go into breakout sessions again with some different people this time. You're going to have 8 minutes to talk about one important relationship that you could evolve more into a partnership. All right, we'll see you back here in a couple minutes. Welcome back. Welcome back, everyone. All right, we have people trickling back in. I hope you had a wonderful conversation and met some new colleagues. We are going to end in the most practical way that we can think of, which is to ask each one of you to think about partnership for you, for your organization, for wherever you are in your world. And we want to do it in this way. We want to ask you if you have up to three things you could offer in a potential partnership, to paste those in the chat. And if you have 3 things you are looking for to create in a partnership, to paste those in the chat. And then if you would like to receive the notes from the chat, including the offers and the asks, please put your email in the chat as well. And we will circulate this at the end, and we will hope that these opportunities for connection perhaps lead to some partnerships down the road, embedding the lessons we've talked about today, and opportunities for creating purpose and moving us forward on the sustainable development goals. So go ahead, think about if you have something to offer, and if you have something to ask, paste those in the chat. Great. I see chats coming in. All right, I see all kinds of incredible offers coming in. Digital transformation, storytelling, policy programs, analytical skills, maternal and infant health projects to off-grid communities. I love how specific that is, looking for storytellers. This is great. So what we will do, for those of you who include your email, is we will circulate the notes from this chat so that if there's someone who has something to offer that you're looking for, you can connect with them directly. We know we are at time now and that some of you might need to go. Buddy and I are happy to stick around and have answer any questions or any follow-ups that any of you want to. Or allow you to have a couple more minutes to paste any ideas you have for collaboration in the chat. Thank you all for coming from all around the world. It's been a really robust and a great session. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Devin.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay,
Have a wonderful
bye-bye.
day.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Yeah, huge thank you to Devin and Buddy for leading us in this wonderful session. Really, really powerful. Love the focus on partnerships. Thank you so much for being here and for delivering that for us.
Fabulous.
Thanks, everybody. Yeah, I'm going to be a member soon.
Oh, on that note, actually, I have something to paste in the chat, a form. So if you do, Buddy, want to sign up, now's the time.
Okay, it's going to happen.
I'll hold you to that. Alrighty. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, all righty. Bye-bye.